We begin in the Middle East and with the Gulf states. Last week, 5 Middle Eastern states, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen, severed ties with their neighbor Qatar. Their goal was to isolate the country politically and economically for its alleged support of terrorism. The standoff has put the U.S. in a difficult position since both sides of the dispute are American allies and because the United States has 10,000 troops based in Qatar. The State Department has offered to negotiate a resolution, but so far it has not been accepted. Joining me now for a discussion about this ongoing crisis is Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabr al-Thani. He is the former Prime Minister of Qatar and a very close friend of the present Emir and his father. I am pleased to have him back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
So, the President of the United States visits Saudi Arabia, announces that he fully supports Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and others' effort against Iran to isolate Iran. Then several days later, we have an announcement that these Arab states want to isolate Qatar. Are they connected? What's going on?
Well, it's simply we've been caught by surprise because our Emir went to the conference, and I think he had a good meeting with the president, and always there is issues between our two countries or other countries, and it's been solved through the right channels. And for us, isolating Iran or it end by isolating Qatar. And they are now saying that we have a very special relation and sympathy with Iran and with the terrorism and financing the terrorism. First of all, with Iran, if you take it from commercial base, which it is very important things, Qatar may be 1% in a thousands compared to the other Gulf state, their trade with Iran. Even in Syria, we are in a different position with the Iranian in the Syrian war and with Bashar against his people. So the connection, yes, we continue to try to have a normal and a good relation with Iran because they are a neighbor and we share the gas field together, and that's normal and legitimate. And it's not only the GCC country have normal relation, but do we have a special relation with Iran against our GCC ally and brother? That's, of course, completely false. And if we are talking about terrorism, Qatar is a partner with the United States. After 9/11, your troop came in one day to Qatar, and they use all our facilities, our own facilities, before we have this big base. And we facilitate that overnight for them when they came from Saudi Arabia. Remember when Bin Laden said no Islamic State should have American troop. We received all your troop at that time. We took all the blame, and from that time, we was your partner fighting in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, elsewhere from our base. And we was taking the full security for your guys, which they are there, and host them all these years. And we've been caught by surprise to say that we are supporting terrorism. Which terrorism we are supporting?
Well, here's what they say. They say you're supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt was a member of this isolate Qatar. Clearly, the Muslim Brotherhood has a conflict with the present government. The Muslim Brotherhood is in Jordan. And there are some of those Arab countries, have a very strong feeling against the Muslim Brotherhood. They say Qatar supports them. Secondly, they say Qatar supports Hamas. Thirdly, they say Qatar supports Iran and some of its behavior which they don't approve. And those are just some of the items that they listed as to why you are not on board with isolating Iran and you're on board with supporting terrorism.
Who's isolating Iran in the Gulf and we don't isolate? Did they close the diplomatic tie with Iran and they requested in the GCC and we oppose that? They did not bring it to the GCC to close the embassies, their embassies in Iran, or close the embassies of Iran from the GCC.
GCC for purposes of the Gulf Countries Council. Or?
Nobody bring any kind of even thinking by closing the embassies. If they will bring it, let somebody suggest it in the GCC and will be part of the GCC, but that's not happening. In fact, they did it with Qatar. And when you are talking about Islamic Brotherhood and Egypt, Islamic Brotherhood, it's a big name. with varieties of Islamic Brotherhood. There is some of them, they are part of the nation everywhere, and in the parliament in some countries, and some of them is using aggression, which we don't agree with them, and some of them is peaceful. So we need to identify what Islam. You know, myself, I'm against these groups by any way personally. But to take that reason against Qatar, how we support them? The Egyptian people elect them in Egypt, and Sisi and the army throw them out. Fine.
President Sisi. And for us, our Emir, His Highness, he was one of the first people which he support Sisi when he come at that time, because that's Egyptian fare. But their problem, they have so many problems inside, and they need to blame somebody. Do you think Qatar have the capability to do the economic situation as what it was or what it is now in Egypt, despite all the billions being given from our other brothers in the region? I'm not sure. The Egyptians, they need to work inside Egypt more and to do what they need to do. I wish to see Egypt one of the strongest country in the world, because it's one of the Arab nation, the biggest nation. The largest standing army?
Yes, we need that they have a strong army, because that's important for the Arab nation if it work in the Arab policy. That's one thing. In Tunisia, there is change. There was an Islamic government, and they've been taken out by the election, and another government come. Look how we are working with other governments, which they are not Islamic Brotherhoods. We support them financially. Biggest support financially for Tunis is from Qatar now. So that it means they are not Muslim Brotherhoods. Why we are supporting them? We are supporting the stability of any region ask for help. What is the benefit of a small monarchy like Qatar to unstable Egypt or any other country by Muslim Brotherhoods or any other groups? I don't think this is. If you talk with somebody, at least with a reasonable mind, he will not believe. But
so, what do you think is at heart here? What is the reason for this coming now? Because there has been an ongoing conversation about some countries not approving of the fact that Qatar tried to play both sides. It had friends on both sides. There's even questions that have been raised about how much funding Qatar has done to some of the Islamic groups in Syria.
Look, in Syria, everybody did mistakes, including your country. When the war or the revolution happened in Syria, all of us worked through 2 operation rooms, one in Jordan and one in Turkey. The first one was in Jordan, and there was countries, some of the GCC countries, among them the Saudis, the Emiratis, Qatar, United States, and other allies. And they was working from there, and all of us, we was supporting the same group. In Turkey, we did the same. We discovered by the time that there is some groups have other agenda, and we always eliminate them one by one. And always when we have information from our friends that this group is not, you supported wrong group sometimes,
sure,
but you stop. It doesn't mean that we did not do something wrong there, but it is intentionally we do that. That's not true, because what is the reason? If they finish with Syria, they will come to us. We know that. So for us is
the terrorist organizations.
Of course, they will come to us. That's normal. Do you think that we are out of the threat? We are not out of the threat.
Is the principal conflict in the region today Saudi versus Iran?
Look, I think there is few problems in the region. One of them is, okay, Iran behave in the region. I think it's not the right behave. That's no doubt about this. And I said this, not now. I said this 2 months ago in a speech in the university in Doha, and I said this before that in another speech, I think, in London, if I don't mind, if I don't forget. And I always say Iran is shaking the stability of the region by doing things in Yemen, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iraq. And if we need to fight Iran, we have to be more intelligent. I don't mean fighting them by weapon. I mean fighting them with a brain. The problem, we don't have a strategy in the GCC how to fight. We have an initiative sometimes taken, and these initiatives sometimes taken because of certain things happen here or there, so we take initiative to counter-attack that initiative. The problem, we need a stability in our mind, so we can find the way how to counter, let us say, attack the Iranian in the region and not to let them make the interfere. But by isolating Qatar, you do this. By isolating Qatar, if tomorrow I call, for example, the Iranian and the Turk is coming, and I call any other countries to the region, you will say you will bring them inside if I want to defend myself. Is that what they want, to push Qatar in the wall? A sovereignty of Qatar is the most important things for us, and the integrity. And that we will defend until the last minute. The problem that all these allegations or all these talks about Qatar, they have no solid base. We need a case. Nobody tell us a case that X guy finance X guy. We find this list, as I mentioned, last few days, which they support. Did they send it to the right channel last month or month before or 6 months ago and our people deny it? They did not show us this list. They create this list lately. Maybe it is right. Maybe there is some people in the list. We need to look at their cases. But this is the right way to boycott Qatar? Where is the international law? If they cut you from food, if they cut your families between the countries, and there is a lot of cases, if they cut the air right, if they cut the sea.
Now, these are all things that they said they were going to do.
They did. They did all that.
They have done all those things.
Already been done that. When this been done to Gaza, you and everybody say this is not right, and there was a war between Israel and the Palestinian. Maybe some.
So tell me more about the impact on Qatar that has happened since they announced that there was going to be this effort to isolate Qatar. What has been the impact on
what
Qatar?
What I am proud about is the people of Qatar. They support His Highness the Emir, fully support, because they know that he was honest and sincere and tried to build an excellent relation from when he came to power with his neighbor. And by doing this, they did not give him the chance, and they disappoint all the people of Qatar and all the GCC people. The majority of the GCC people, they did not agree with that act being taken. If you tell me this is the biggest impact, the hurt of the people, they've been hurt, that brother, GCC, tell me, there is a constitution in the GCC. Did they use the constitution? Did the GCC meet and accuse Qatar for something? Did we see the Secretary Generals of the GCC say something?
They did none of those.
It is nothing like this being done. It means there is no rely in the GCC in the future. If the big countries in the GCC, which we respect, Saudi Arabia, have a difference with somebody, that means they will do what they need to do without the GCC. I respect King Salman, we respect Saudi Arabia, and we always respect them, and we'll continue to respect them. But this act, it changed a lot of situation among all the GCC members.
In what way?
In a way that this could happen for any reason. If any leader wake up in the morning and decide that he wants to cut not the relation, the border between him and other country, he will do it for a reason or no reason. That means there is no stability in this constitution, in these 6 countries. That means they are not together. Imagine if there is a problem between a European and another Europe, between Germany and Lithuania or any small country in the European community. Do you think they will shut the border, or they will go and discuss it in the European Union and see who's do mistakes and they will take the necessary actions? None of these happen. And the big problem that the American, which they are ally for both sides, they are not clear in their way how to handle the problem between they should be more fair to look at the problem and to try to see if there is something to be solved.
Okay, two questions, and then I want to move to other aspects of this. You believe the Saudis are behind this?
They announce, it's not I believe. They announce themselves, and the Emirati, they announce.
Those two.
Yeah, they announce this. Up till now, okay, I know something, but the size, the magnitude of this, which they did, it's not justified.
What is the United States doing, and have the United States changed its position since the initial announcement of this effort to isolate? Because President Trump said in the Rose Garden conference with the visiting president of Romania, said, you know, the Saudi-led action against Qatar was hard but necessary. He clearly has staked his lot with the Saudis in the battle against Iran. But then you have the Secretary of State, who has seemed to want to mediate, seems to want to figure out a solution to this that is better than the reality on the ground today.
I think any mediator should look to the matter from both sides equally until he have the right evidence. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. Second thing, the President of United States, which I respect him, I think he take his measures without having the right evidence against Qatar. I think United States, as a big country, as the superpower country in the world, should be more thoughtful when they take measures like this or support others to take measures.
So you're criticizing Washington for going along with this without finding out more information?
I criticize them because they are our ally and our friends, and we expect from our friends to be fair, not to help us, but to be fair. Does it threaten
the air base that is in Qatar?
It is not only that. We did a lot of things with the American together in fighting terrorism and do other things for more peaceful region.
And are those things at risk now?
I am not a person authorized. I'm not in the governments, particularly to say if it will affect or not. But the people of Qatar, the normal people, is being hurt because they think that United States should look at them. I have no doubt that in the end, United States will do the right things. I have no doubt in this. I will tell you why. Because this country have institutions which they will look at the matter and they will find that we've been taken in an assumption or in theories which it is not right.
Is there any part of the Qatar government and the Emir who believes that because this has happened, they have to rethink some of their policies that might have given rise to the perception that Qatar was supporting Iran and supporting extremism and supporting terrorism?
Qatar supporting Iran is a big joke, first of all, a big joke. I want them to tell me when events we support Iran. When events. There is no events. In fact, we have a normal relation, but we are not in the top of the list of the relation with Iran. We are not in the top list. If we are in the top list, we will not fight with them in Syria. That's totally a joke, in my opinion.
Meaning, if you had a relationship with Iran, you would have joined Hezbollah, who Iran was supporting in Syria.
Of course,
But you did not.
Exactly. Right. But the problem is, if it is because of Iran, we are ready to open session and discuss it, which that's not the case. But the case is there is some countries in the region want to dictate their policy to other countries, which we cannot take it as a country. We are a sovereign country, independent country, and we have the right to do our own policy if it goes with the international law and with the normal practice as a normal country.
How serious a crisis do you view this?
It is serious in the matter that there is a big crack happen in the GCC. And I don't know this crack, how it will be, rebuild.
But it could affect U.S. relationships with Qatar?
I don't want to jump to that. More than that, it is a hurt. And
a hurt
from, we feel that we've been hurt because, but let us not jump to this conclusion because we take the foreign ministry to listen announcement.
Right.
And we are waiting to see what they will come with it as a mediator if they want to mediate. Don't forget that Kuwait, the Emir of Kuwait, he is also in the mediated, and he is respected by all of the GCC countries. And I think between him and United States, I have a hope that we will come to conclusion, and most of criticizing about Qatar will be seen that it is built in no basis.
It is said that after our president, President Trump, tweeted some things that President Putin of Russia telephoned your emir, stressing Russia's principal position in favor of settling crisis by political and diplomatic means through dialogue. Is that correct? Can you confirm that?
This is what's been said, but let me tell you one thing. If we talk with the Russian, for example, I think here they will say that also we have a dealing with Russian. The problem now, if we want you to be a fair referee between both sides, you are not taking it or you are not listening to one side. And if somebody else want to talk nicely about us or he want to help in this crisis, will you take him, they should not go to the Russian. Imagine if the Russian went to solve the problem, what the American will say. Why the Russian, Qataris allow the Russian interfere in this. Okay, fine, we'll not let them interfere in this. Tell me how we can solve the problem in integrity and keep the integrity of Qatar.
You seem to be saying that this is a grave injustice to the people of Qatar.
Definitely.
It's a humanitarian crisis having to do with food and other issues. Qatar happens to have the highest per capita income of any country in the world, I think, because of the size of its population and the size of its wealth. It seems to me you're saying that the way out of this is through Washington, that Washington has to intervene in here and use some influence with the GCC that it has, especially because of President Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia. Is that correct?
It's correct, but not fully correct, because Washington is an important element in this, definitely for all the GCC countries. All the GCC countries have a special relation with Washington, and your interference, of course, will help if it is in the right way. But also, as I mentioned, Kuwait is doing a good job, and the Emir visited the three countries and try to listen to what is the problem and how we can solve it.
He's visited Saudi Arabia and he's visited
Abu Dhabi
and
Qatar.
And really?
Yeah.
So what remains to be done?
Well,
what's the way out?
Well, I believe the way out, if we activate the GCC, first of all, because the GCC right now is frozen. That's not things.
It's not functioning.
Not functioning. The second thing is United States, as ally for all the countries in the GCC, they have to stand in the same distance from the problem from everyone. And if there is any problem, I will tell you one thing. The Qataris will not be hesitating if there is a mistake to say there is a mistake and will correct it.
Including anybody who who alleges a support of terrorism, whether you did it knowingly or not.
Definitely, because we will not be shy from this, because that's not our intention and will not be our intention. But you have to show me evidence. You know, if you go to any court today, they need to see evidence. They need to see something to talk about it. Right now, everybody's saying for us, supporting terrorism, financing. Okay, show me one case. Show me two cases. Show me anything. And also, if you have a case today.
Well, okay, let me how much financial support are you giving to Hamas, who some people and others don't characterize as a terrorist country?
Hamas, everybody know that we for Gaza, we help in the electricity. And that's announced and known, and everybody know it. United Nations know it. The Israeli know it, because sometimes we bring the electricity from Israel. The houses which been damaged in 2005, I think, 2005, we built some of the houses, and we built hospital, and we built some other things which it's been damaged, part of it which been damaged.
In Gaza.
Yeah, and this is, everybody appreciated that, because that released the hostility in Gaza a little bit. And that's also, the GCC countries, they pledged money for Gaza at 2005. And the Arab countries, or in Sharm el-Sheikh, there was an international conference to pledge for Gaza at that time. So that's known, and that's public. And when you say about Hamas, let me tell you this little information. When there was election in Palestine, first election, the American at that time pushed us to talk with Hamas to let them participate in the election, because they want them to be in. And when
they participated,
and they participate,
and they were successful in some areas.
And then they've been thrown. Right. Fine, that's their own problem. If you tell me they are dealing with Taliban, the 5 guys from Taliban, which we have them from United States,
right? We
have them with them
in exchange for the prisoner.
Yeah, prisoner, and also they are negotiating with Taliban,
and they're still in Doha.
This is your request. Yes, we are. I'm sure our people will be happy to, if you want them back or you take them somewhere else. I'm not talking in behalf of the governments, but we'll
they're
be happy
still in
to
Doha, and they are under surveillance, so that you know what they're doing.
Your people know that more than the Qataris, where they are and what's done. Your people know that.
So, was there any evidence of a disruption in the relationship between the United States and Qatar before this event of the GCC?
No.
None. So as far as you were concerned, the relationship between Qatar and the United States, because of the airbase, because of other issues, was going just fine.
It is fine, and we believe it will stay fine despite this problem, because this problem, I'm sure, I'm still positive, when the people in Washington know the causes and know the things, they will be fair to say, well, this is not exactly like what we think or like what we've been told.
When you leave New York, where are you going?
Well, I will be here around. I'm going to see some friends in Washington for a few days and back home.
Thank you for coming.
Pleasure, sir.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Back in a moment. Stay with us.